Ambassador to the United States, Sheikh Mashal bin Hamad Al Thani. I began by asking him for his response to our report that hacking was behind the news reports that seemed to spark part of the crisis. As you just heard, CNN is reporting U.S. investigators believe Russian hackers were behind a false news report that is being used by Saudi Arabia and others as part of the reason to sever diplomatic ties with your country. It's a false news report that says, in part, question whether President Donald Trump would last in office. What's your response?
Well, thank you, Aaron, for hosting me. We are still looking into the investigation. The report, the conclusion of the report is not yet out, so we can't comment now on ongoing investigation.
Now, another report is out, of course, that says your government paid up to $1 billion in ransom to both al-Qaeda and Iranian security officials. Are you able, Mr. Ambassador, to categorically say that that report is not true?
It is not true, yes.
So I just want to make sure I understand that we've got close to 10 countries now that have severed diplomatic ties with Qatar. Are you saying that their allegations, which include allegations of terror funding from Qatar, are all completely baseless?
Well, this act of aggression against Qatar really has no basis to it. So we don't know exactly what their motives from this act. All these stories about Qatar financing terrorism are fabricated. They are not true. And we continue to ask for clarification on these matters that we didn't receive anything yet.
When you say they're fabricated, of course, the Trump administration's candidate for terror finance at Treasury is not yet confirmed. The most recent person to hold that title is Danny Glazer, and he spoke about terror finance in February. And at that time, Mr. Ambassador, he said, and I quote him, "There continue to be designated terrorist financiers operating openly and notoriously in both countries." He was referring to Qatar and to Kuwait. And specifically about Qatar, he says Qatar continues to, quote, "tolerate terror financing within its borders, and that any steps that you have taken to combat this are, quote, painfully slow." Is terror funding a gray area for Qatar?
It is not a gray area for Qatar. We enacted laws to counter terror financing. This issue is not subject only to Qatar. Terror financing is across the whole globe. We, as a government of Qatar, are doing our utmost in combating terrorism along with our allies. There are laws that prevent terror financing in our country.
So when he says designated terrorist financiers are able to operate openly and notoriously in Qatar, you say that's not true?
Well, if there are any proofs that there are terror financing going on in Qatar, and we have been approached with evidence, we will act on them.
So one of those cases, I was a designated terror financier, is a man named Saad bin Saad al-Kabi, and I was in Doha, Mr. Ambassador, reporting on terror finance. I spoke to him. At the time, he was a fundraiser for the Madad al-Sham campaign, which al-Qaeda supporters were encouraged to donate to. He was living openly in Doha. He used images of the planes hitting the World Trade Center in a tweet. Here's a brief clip from our report, Mr. Ambassador. And when we asked why he used a picture of the planes hitting the World Trade Center on 9/11 in a tweet, he replied, "The picture is everywhere on the internet."
Right. He said that photo is all over the internet.
What I wanted to ask you was, after the report, al-Kabi was added to U.S. terror lists, including the State Department's specially designated global terrorist list. That was 2015. As of tonight, I can confirm he is still on that list. What I want to ask you is, has he been convicted of a crime in Qatar? Is he in jail or is he free in Qatar tonight?
Well, our courts are taking action against all suspected terrorists who are on this list. There are some prosecutions that happened, and we are determined to fight finance of terrorism.
So in the case of al-Kabi, do you know his situation tonight, whether he's in jail or convicted, or you're not sure specifically about him?
Well, as I mentioned, Aaron, that we are determined to fight terrorism and combating financial terrorism. Our courts are taking actions on multiple cases. Some are ongoing and some are being prosecuted. So we are determined to stop this if it happens in our territory.
And I want to ask you, the President of the United States, of course, as you know, came out today, obviously saying he doesn't think the claims of terror financing are baseless. He did something no president has done before in going on Twitter with an official public position. In his tweet, he said, "So good to see the Saudi Arabia visit with the king and 50 countries already paying off. They said they would take a hard line on funding extremism, and all reference was pointing to Qatar. Perhaps this will be the end to the horror of terrorism." He also said, "During my recent trip to the Middle East, I stated there can no longer be funding of radical ideology. Leaders pointed to Qatar. Look." What's your response to the President of the United States?
Well, our cooperation with the United States speaks for itself. It is long-standing. We remain committed to it. We also remain committed to our efforts in the region and globally in fighting terrorism.
When you saw those tweets, were you shocked?
I saw the tweets and I went through them carefully. As I told you, we are confident with our cooperation with the United States. I'm confident of our efforts to combat terrorism. So they came to me as a surprise.
Certainly, as a surprise. I mean, are you willing to come out and say the President of the United States is wrong?
As I told you, Aaron, we are committed to this cooperation. Our cooperation with the U.S. speaks for itself. So we have reports from the Treasury, we have reports from State Department that focuses on our efforts.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you very much.
Out front next, Dubai's largest real estate developer, Mohammed Al-Abar, tells